What do you make of this break in loyalty from Elon Musk from the Trump administration? I know you posted to X. You said, "Welcome to the resistance, Elon." This is a pretty big break in loyalty that we've seen from him.
Look, I just want to point out that Elon Musk, for the last few months, was breaking the law every single day, violating the Constitution, and he still has about 87 staffers that we know of, DOJ staffers, embedded in the federal government illegally. So, yes, I'm glad that Elon Musk is finally realizing that what Trump and the Republicans are doing is massively increasing our debt, while also harming our most poor and vulnerable citizens. So I welcome Elon, but appreciate your finally coming to your senses here. But those of us who've actually been reading these bills, been following what the Republicans are doing, have realized this for months.
Let's be forward-thinking now. I know that senators huddled yesterday to discuss the bill, their own ideas for it. Do you expect it to make it through the Senate? And then if it makes it back to the House, does it pass? Because it passed by just one vote first go around.
Obviously, I'm a Democrat. The conversations that matter are going to take place on the other side of the aisle. But we're starting to see that Republicans in the House are finally actually reading the bill. They voted for this, quote, big, beautiful bill. Obviously, they didn't read it. And so they're now discovering provisions like the 10-year moratorium preventing any state or local jurisdiction from enacting any regulations around AI, which is insane. And Marjorie Taylor Greene just admitted earlier this week that she hadn't realized that was in the bill that she voted for. They rushed it through. Similarly, there are a lot of nasty provisions in there. There's a provision that would prevent courts from holding any contempt of court penalties against the administration. That's something that Republicans are just starting to realize is in the bill. So a lot of stuff in there they didn't realize they were voting for. I hope that they stop obsessing about Joe Biden and the past and start looking to what's happening right now, because this big, beautiful bill is really a Frankenstein of scary, terrible things.
Let me just elaborate a little bit more on what Marjorie Taylor Greene admitted this week, right? I mean, she told our network we often don't get the full text of a piece of legislation until right before it's time to vote. She said, "I missed these 2 pages about the AI provision that you're talking about there." Regardless of party, I mean, how often are lawmakers voting on legislation that you have not read from cover to cover, sir?
We and our staff are expected. It's an obligation to read the bills, and particularly with important provisions like that. This is not, like a particular line item that doesn't mean anything. This is a 10-year prohibition on any new regulations around artificial intelligence. 10 years is a lifetime in AI, so you shouldn't miss a provision like that. You shouldn't miss the provision that immediately defunds Planned Parenthood in California, in my home state. And so when I talk to businesses and constituents, they are not focused around a lot of the stuff that Republicans are talking about with Joe Biden. They are focused on this bill, DOJ, they're focused on the tariffs, all these things that are combining to take a great economy, what looked like a great economy that Donald Trump inherited, and turning it around right away. And so I hope that the Republicans will read this bill closely and realize that not only does it increase the national debt, something like $4 or $5 trillion or more, but it has massive cuts to Medicaid, to Medicare, because I've heard a lot of lawmakers on the other side of the aisle claim that this actually increases funding for Medicaid, that it doesn't touch Medicare, that it reduces the national debt. These things are all obviously false.
Before I let you go, let me just switch gears with you real quick, because I know you're introducing new legislation today that bans top federal officials from using their access, their knowledge for stock trading. I think to most American voters, it kind of seems like common sense. How problematic and prevalent is congressional stock trading that you know of?
We don't actually know because it's not disclosed, right? So we see some of these reports. We see examples, for example, of Marjorie Taylor Greene, again, buying a bunch of Tesla stock, buying other stocks, as someone who's never really traded stocks the way she did, right before certain announcements. And so what this bill is intended to do is apply the same rules that go to every American. You can't trade on insider information, and expand that to members of Congress. We have access to a lot of insider information, so prohibits us from actively trading individual stocks. We can still invest in index funds or mutual funds. It also expands that prohibition to members of the judiciary, the Federal Reserve, and the White House who have access to inside information. And I think Americans are sick and tired of seeing insiders, those of us who are in elected positions or in positions where we have inside information, trading on that, ripping off average Americans through that inside information. Enough is enough, and we're hoping that our bill will sail through on a bipartisan basis.
Well, I hope to have you back on, and please keep us apprised.